Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. We're excited that you've joined us as we have a conversation.
It's time to join the conversation.
Welcome back to Hardheaded Podcast, episode 193. We are nearing the 200 mark. Wow. Been doing this many years. I'm your host, Chet Sears. With me, as always, is Troy Trussell. Not with us, again, is Matt Amos. And filling in for him, we have Beef Broughton. I call him Beef. My kids call him Uncle Beef. It makes me laugh every time you refer to him as Chris. And we are going to be talking about the election. This is being recorded a week out, so there's probably some stuff that's going to happen between now and this release. But you know, we'll cover some hot topics anyway, and some predictions that were made on Hardheaded Podcast that have since almost come true. Well, actually, no, absolutely.
They have come true.
So we'll get into that, and then we'll get into our top 3 companies that have gone out of business that had a really big impact on you. And this is being driven by my number 1. We'll get into detail on that. But you're thinking about, man, they should have kept it together because this really sucks for me and I can't even stop it. So that's where we are on that. And then Troy will close us out with a good word. So, months ago, like 3 or 4 months ago on this podcast, we kind of started talking about the election, and this, I think it was pre-primary or right after the some of the primaries going on. The prediction was made that Trump and Biden, neither one are going to be in the election in November. And since that time, we know that Biden is not going to be in the election in November. And we know that Trump came inches from not being in the election in November. And that doesn't mean he's still going to be there. But
Who made that prediction?
What's that?
Who made that prediction?
I made that prediction.
Okay.
And as you know, when I speak about predictions, you should listen.
I think my reaction was, wow, you think they're going to try to kill him?
And I was like, yeah. And then I just knew that Biden wasn't going to hold up. I figured he would have had like a medical issue or whatever, but apparently he wasn't willing to go out. Like, they did this to him. He was not a part of this decision. That's my take on it. And then the day that he announced, they were running ads for Kamala Harris. So you knew that she knew that she was going to be the one. They already had the ads drawn up.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I bet Jill Biden is upset over the whole deal because she was not going down at all. She wanted to keep it running. So Biden's out. The convention, I did a little bit of reading into this because you kind of, you know, there's a whole lot of rules that exist around elections. How you get on the ballot in each state, they have their own rules. And then you look at the whole primary process of how the people get to, in the primaries, vote on who they think should represent them. And we know that the Democratic Party completely bypassed that with how they have installed Harris as the presidential candidate for the Democrat Party, which is a shocker because she's a horrible candidate.
Yeah.
Do you remember how far she made it in the 2020 election primaries, Broughton?
Wasn't very far.
She did not get a single delegate.
Not one delegate, and she was the first to drop. She got out quicker than anybody else. She is horrible. And Troy, I should have.
She is horrible.
I should have told you to be able to hook up the phone. I may have to do this old school. But
is she burdened by what has been? Is that what you were going to say?
What's the phrase? We must think about things to come, unburdened by what has been. But you have to do the hand motions. Things to come, unburdened by what has been. Did you know this, Broughton?
Have you heard?
Is that her slogan?
Yeah, that's her. She says it in every speech. It out of context, it doesn't even make sense half the time.
Oh, I thought her slogan was Japan beat us in football, and that's where I confused.
I will prevent this from happening again.
Now, that's what Trump's going to do. Trump's like, we're going to make America under 20
Football great again. Here you go. Here's a little.
That we know can be unburdened by what has been. To know what can be unburdened by what has been. You see what can be unburdened by what has been. To see what can be unburdened by what has been. The courage to see what can be.
It's video. I'm going to go ahead and stop because
what does that mean?
That video.
Yeah, I don't
of
get it.
Just her saying that phrase is over 3 minutes long. Every speech that she's in, she seems to say that, which is I can't even believe it.
I don't know what it means.
It is, you have to see what can be unburdened by what has been. Then you got to forget the past and go do what you need to do in the future.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm down with that.
I've heard that phrase comes from some Marxist books, though. Like that is a straight Marxist quote.
Unburdened by what has been.
I may be wrong about that.
What could be.
Oh, there it is. Thank you, Troy.
By what
You're
had
welcome.
been. Is the ability to see what can be.
This is not. I didn't start it over. It's still going. By the
By
way.
what has been. To see what is possible.
So anyway, she's the. I don't know how to pause this.
Unburdened by what
There
has
we
been
go.
and who is.
No, I can't.
She's taking over your phone.
She is. I want has been to stop. Is what I'm looking for right now. Anyway, so she's a horrible, horrible, horrible candidate. And the first thing right out of the gate that the opposing party said, well, heck, the record that she has as vice president is not good because she was put in charge of the what? Do you guys know what one of the things she was over? A czar of?
The border and under 20 American football.
She was the border czar, and it's been an unmitigated disaster, right?
Oh, yeah, on purpose.
And so people are like, hey, we're coming after her because she is so horrible at the border, and she was the border czar, and it's no good. And they said, the media immediately said, nowhere, in no way was she the border czar. She was never over the border at all. And this is what we find from
Border czar Kamala Harris.
How the media is wanting her. So we're going to hear this video.
Quote unquote,
a compilation,
border
if
czar.
you will.
Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. She was the border czar.
Calling her...
I'm not hip to the language, but this is what gaslighting is telling you something that's not true that actually is true. That this is your media, America, that 100% says that Biden appointed her as the border czar, and as soon as she is the nominee, she is now above reproach, and you can't say what really was. They're going to lie about it to your face. I mean, it's ridiculous how much the media is covering for her, which they never did. They absolutely did not like her. There were people lining up to talk about how bad of a candidate she would be, and they now, because she's the nominated. Well, she hasn't officially been nominated at this recording, but she's the presumptive nominee. Everybody's in lockstep. They're going to do whatever they can to get her in power, which is crazy.
Well, I think that she probably made that happen. Nobody would want her. And she probably said, I'm going to 25th Amendment you if you don't do this. And And he was like, well, that, okay.
Yeah, all because he stayed in, right? I mean, that's the other thing. If you want to get a take on what the media thought of her, I think this is the video. Hold on here just a second. This is the media talking about her.
There are reports to say that you have the lowest approval rating of any vice president.
Well, there are polls that also say I have great approval ratings.
Swing voters don't like Harris. How big a drag is Kamala Harris on the ticket?
She's a pretty big drag. I think she was arguably Biden's worst political decision.
They don't like her. There's lots of reasons they don't like her.
Kamala Harris's approval rating is now at 28%, which is an historic low for any modern vice president.
We're hearing it from mainstream media, one outlet after another, one leak after another. That Kamala Harris is the worst vice president ever, the worst politician ever.
We don't see the vice president. What people are saying to me, and I'm sure they're saying it to you, where's the vice president? Some White House officials are feeling that she came off looking unprepared for inevitable questions about when she might visit the southern border.
We've been to the border.
Anyway, so she's horrible, and she's going to be our next president. I mean, that's what I predict anyway. It's bad. So Trump, let's talk about the assassination attempt.
So you don't even think Trump has a chance to be president?
No.
You think they're going to kill him before, or you think they're going to cheat in the vote, or you think the American people are going to vote her in?
If you could see that the establishment is 100% in the tank for anybody but Trump. We just saw that. We saw how they were talking about her before she was the nominee.
Yeah, it's insane.
And we see how they're lying for her now. There is no way that Trump is going to be allowed to be president. And so much so, we had, I think it was Sidney Blumenthal today, said at this recording, I need to back out here just a second, what they're going to do. But do you think it was an inside job on the Trump deal?
I don't think it was an inside job from Trump's team, but I think it was definitely
the government.
The government. I mean, they're not. There's no way that they leave that unguarded on accident. And I haven't done a lot of research into. I've heard rumors that the kid had like offshore accounts and stuff. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, I'm sure that they probably promised him like, hot women and whatever to go do this, and then they planning to kill the only witness all along, just like Lee Harvey Oswald or whatever. So
it seems real.
They failed to kill him. So, and then he made that awesome photo op and whatever, and he had everything going for him. And then by picking Vance, he's kind of squandered that because Vance is a tool. But anyway, I
don't know Vance. He's never been on my radar ever. I would not have been able to pick him out of the lineup when he picked him. So I didn't even know what he looked like.
Yeah, I had never heard of him.
He's the type of guy Trump would pick. So
yeah. But I think that they intentionally left opportunities in Pennsylvania. I don't know if they orchestrated it, but then you start looking into that dude. So you say that you're not sure about the offshore accounts. I read an article where the FBI still hasn't been able to crack his phone. And
I thought they cracked it, and the last thing you looked at was pornography.
Nah, they went to Israel to get their help. Like the FBI couldn't even do it. It was encrypted in a way.
Yeah, freaking sucks.
And then the other thing is that he didn't have a social media presence. And what 20-year-old kid doesn't play video games and get on social media? Like that just seems really weird to me.
Anonymous social media presence.
But you'd be able to find that. Like I hope the FBI would be able to find that. I mean, good grief.
I've been monitoring you from my anonymous accounts for a while, and you haven't.
Look, if Bulldogs Barks and Bites knows every time you sign in as a different username, the FBI ought to be able to crack, and that's been 20 years, 30 years.
They just banned any usernames that have any variation of meat in them.
He used to get banned off of sports message boards all the time. It's hilarious.
Yeah, they did. That's the first time I learned what an IP. They flagged the IP address. So even if you tried to use my computer under a totally different thing and not be named after meat, that's still banned. So,
what was your meat names? Like what are you talking about?
First it was like beef, and then I may have done like meat, and then like prime rib, and all these different usernames. And then they kept, I'd make one post and then get banned again. Like, they caught me.
Have you tried a VPN now?
El Carne was one, the meat.
El Carne. You need to get a VPN. Then you can get back on.
Yes. Well, now I don't really.
I don't even know if they exist.
No, they do. They do. They do. They're still there.
That's awesome. You got to go in there and flame. Just get everybody fired up. So, here, let me pull this video up. So this is Jamie Raskin. This is their plan. He said what's going to happen if Trump wins the election.
The Constitution can slip away from you very quickly, and the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
All right. So what that means, I don't know. Broughton, you're our legal scholar. 14th Amendment.
I don't even remember what it is.
Oh, you're letting down your folks. But it's basically saying what disqualifies you for office. And it states if you're an insurrectionist, then you're disqualified for office. This is they had a case, Trump versus Anderson in Colorado, where they tried to get his name pulled off of the ballot for the presidential election in Colorado. That case went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said a state doesn't have standing for Section 14. Only the federal government has standing for Section 14. Therefore, it would have to be up to Congress to act to remove someone from eligibility to be the president. And so what he's saying, what Raskin is saying, is that their plan is if Trump wins the election, that's a big if in my opinion, because we're still on these, everybody's going to vote, mail-in ballot and all this other stuff, that Congress will meet and disqualify Trump at that moment on January 6th, which is the date.
Inauguration date? Or?
No, that's when they meet to certify the vote.
Oh, okay.
And so that back when the riot happened on January 6th, he said, we're going to do this, and the Congress is going to meet and disqualify him and say that he cannot be installed as president because he's an insurrectionist, because although he hasn't been convicted of being an insurrectionist, they impeached him as for such. So they're going to try to use that leverage to say that he's not qualified. And this is a Rush Limbaugh thing from way back in the day. If you want to know what the Democrats are up to, just listen to what they're accusing the Republicans of doing, and that's exactly what they're doing. So when they talk about the insurrection of January 6th and how they tried to overthrow the government and it was an attempted coup, they're planning this already for 2025. Like, it's what they're going to do.
Now, am I correct that it wouldn't be this Congress? Like, the new Congress starts January 1, and they don't wait for the inauguration of the president, right?
I don't know. That's something worth looking into.
So what I'm saying is
if they win enough congressional seats.
It's conceivable that the Republicans could lose the House and there'd be a Democrat Congress by that time.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Republicans suck at just about everything.
You know that I don't like the new speaker. A new Congress begins at noon, January 3rd of each odd-numbered year. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I mean, it could be that Mike Johnson would not be the speaker anymore because, he's sold out for Trump.
Yeah.
because Trump saved him because he was taking a lot of heat, and he went and bent the knee, and Trump told everybody back off my boy, and
they did.
They did.
And nothing's gotten done since then. Like no border closings, no.
Well, he tweets about the border a lot, Chet.
Yeah, you don't understand.
The
there are
thing
some
is,
other people that are getting YouTube famous for the way they yell at people in front of committees, but there's still nothing changing.
We need to get internet to the border so they can see his tweets, and then that'll solve the border problem. Because it's the tweets. He tweets a lot about it.
Anyway, I think so that if Trump still makes it, and that's a big if, a even bigger if he gets enough votes, I think they've already mapped out and they're already starting to publicly talk about how they're going to not allow him to be president. And you heard him, Civil War type scenario. Like they're not going to allow it to happen.
Okay. Have y'all talked about, I don't know, did y'all see the Civil War movie? Have y'all talked about that on the podcast?
No, I haven't. And if it's not about parenting, we haven't talked about it in over 8 episodes.
Okay. So you didn't see the movie?
I have not.
Which one?
I saw the movie, and some people shunned it because they thought it was going to be, they wanted to know how the Civil War started, and they wanted to see their side win. And
yeah, there's this movie.
I don't know what they thought.
An upcoming Civil War.
Oh, okay.
Not the past Civil War that we already had, but about one that's going to happen between the Republicans and Democrats or something.
Oh yeah, you don't know about that movie, Troy?
No.
It was like a few months earlier this year or something. It's got like Kirsten Dunst and Ron Swanson in it. Ron Swanson's the president.
No, I'll have to check it out.
Anyway,
is it on Netflix?
I don't know.
It was released in theaters.
Prime Video for sure. Yeah, it was in theater. I think y'all should watch it.
Okay.
I mean, if it went down like that,
how'd it go down? Like,
there was just the movie was unclear, like what each side wanted, except you knew it was in a fictional world, right? Because there's no Texas and California are not teamed up against the federal government.
No.
It was just like these forces were trying to attack Washington, and it was just mainly following these reporters as they were trying to get to Washington to interview the president. And I don't want to spoil the movie, but at least I saw it in a theater, and the gunshots were real loud in the theater, and I thought it was awesome. But I don't know, just the combat scenes, I was like, that's probably how people. It ain't gonna go down like Gettysburg,
Right.
It's gonna go down like this, where. Just some platoon of soldiers runs into a bunch of dudes from the woods and whoever, And
they start shooting each other.
Yeah. And everybody's got AR-15, so it's okay,
Yeah.
Anyway, but I got out of your topic. But
no, but it's kind of in the topic because that's what the Democrat, he's one of the ranking members on some committees. Raskin's been around a long time.
You may need to watch that. You may need to watch that movie. Have a watch party so we can prepare for Civil War.
Well, I think, in all honesty, the movie that we should be watching is Red Dawn.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to watch both of them.
Oh man, Matt's not here to complain about Red Dawn. So
that's the best movie ever.
Speaking of,
yeah, go for it.
Speaking of Matt, I saw a video on Facebook today where somebody put shrimp and lemons in a coffee pot, and then they put their shrimp seasoning in the coffee filter and just ran the hot water through it and had a coffee pot shrimp boil. And I was like, I know one guy who might do that.
Yeah, it would be him. Yeah, and he'd call it a shrimp boil in my hotel room.
Yeah, he'd call it a shrimp boil.
Yeah,
no,
that's kind of gross.
Probably just a joke, but anyway. Go ahead.
But I think the main thing for me, and a lot of us have this trust, that an innate trust in our government, but all this stuff that's happening right in front of our eyes, like the cocaine in the White House, nobody knows. The Supreme Court Roe decision being leaked ahead of time, nobody knows. The attempted assassination, we still don't have motive or what the heck is happening there. We're not going to, by the way.
Yeah.
There is no reason that any level of government should have any of our trust that the right thing is going to be done and the truth is going to be exposed. And if you are holding on to hope that that's what's going to happen, you're living in a fairy tale land, in my humble opinion.
If you think that the government could have had something to do with that shooting, but you don't think that they could have been aware of and allowed 9/11 to happen? Yeah. Those are the same thing. You either got to realize your government's evil or have blind faith in your government.
Yeah. I only have faith in Jesus, my friend.
There you go. There you
go. Yeah, amen.
Anyway, before we move on, I have one more audio clip I want to share with you guys as I was preparing for this episode.
Is it the coffee pot shrimp boil?
It is not, but it's great audio. I actually apologize in advance for what's about to happen. Let's see here. This is, I'm not going to play you the whole moment, all the minutes of this, but this is Kamala Harris laughing. I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
He knows how to sell right there. Okay.
And the main reason is this is what she does when she doesn't know what to say.
Yeah, she just starts laughing,
Yeah.
or she says, "Don't be unburdened by what's to come," or whatever it is.
Anyway, whenever she gets a tough question, that's the response. Is I'll just nervously laugh, and hopefully they'll forget that they asked the question, and we'll just move on from that.
Oh man.
Anyway, we ought to use that recording on one of our tracks on the soundboard. And whenever Matt says something funny,
Just hit it. Yeah.
just hit that joker. All right, we're gonna jump into our top 3.
Let's do it.
Top 3 companies that have gone out of business that have had a big impact on you. I came up with this top 3 because there is a company that I'm getting hosed right now because of a company went out of business, and it's eating me alive. So I was like, what other companies have gone out of business that have really, really caused some issues with me? So my number 3, Warren Theaters.
Oh, that's a good one, man.
And they didn't go out of business because they were bad. The dude just decided to sell his small theater business to Regal, and Regal ruined it. Every bit of it. It was the best movie theater experience I've ever dreamed of.
Yep.
And from the quality of the popcorn to the floor that was not sticky to the way that people treat you at the workers there everything was fantastic.
They used to have popcorn seasoning that you could put on different flavors that you could put on your popcorn.
And then Bill Warren sold it to Regal, and it immediately got worse. Yeah. Like the first day, it was much worse. They got rid of Coke and went to Pepsi. They started cooking their popcorn in like one central location, and it was a week old, and they just done. It was horrible. And that's Bill Warren needs to buy all that stuff back. But man, he got out at the right time too, before COVID and all that.
Oh yeah, he was smart on his part.
Number 2, Sears, the store. So one of the things that I do when people ask me, like they're filling out something and they're like, "What's your name?" and I give them the name Sears, that flips people out and they don't know what to do. And so my parents would always say, "Like the store," and then they knew what to write down. And
you can't use that anymore.
I attempted to, maybe that's just out of habit for them. I'm going to try it, so I would say Sears, and I'm like, yeah, how do you spell it? Like Sears. And they'd be like, you mean like the store? And then I'm like, well, I'm tired of them saying that, so I would just say Sears like the store too. So fast forward to my future wife at the time, Ashley, and she's like, just so you know, I'm not going to say like the store when I have my new last name. I'm not going to do that. I don't like it when you do it. I don't like it when your parents do it. I'm not going to do it. Well, guess what she does today? Sears like the store. Because they either misspell it, even though you spell Sears, they misspell it, or they get you mean like the store. Well, because Sears has gone out of business, that is limited. My kids are not going to be able to say that.
Right. Yeah.
Because nobody knows what that is in their generation. So I'm getting hosed by
How do you misspell that though? What do you get?
SEE? SEERS. There's people that try to put a C in there, like SCE.
Oh yeah.
RE. It's crazy.
Like scenes of a movie.
I don't know, but it's been easy for me because I just say like the store, and now my kids aren't gonna be able to do that. So Sears going out of business is a big thing. Number 1, Remington Firearms. I went out with my son and a friend of ours to shoot some sporting clays the other day, and hard-headed listeners, I invited Matt, and he refused to go.
Yes, he did.
Because Troy and I had shot against Matt. I beat both of them. Troy tied Matt.
Which he will not admit to.
And he doesn't admit any of this and keeps saying he's a better shooter. He bought himself a trophy. And I invited him out, and he's like, I can't go, dude. And I'm like, that's because you're just scared. But anyway, I go out on that sporting clay deal. We get to the first station. I happen to be on a work conference call at the time. This was a weekend, but I have had a whole lot of things going on at work. And sure enough, actually it wasn't a weekend, it was a holiday. It was Independence Day.
Oh.
So pull, click. And I'm like, oh, did I get a bad batch of shells? So I jacked another shell in there. Pull, click. And so the other day, it's my duck gun. And the other day, I peel everything apart, and a pin in the bolt carrier slide had sheared, which is an issue with this model of gun that I have on a certain range. But this all has been happening since they've gone out of business, so there's no good communication back, and all the spare parts that they manufactured have been used up. So now I'm either into a new autoloader shotgun for, I don't know, $1,200-$1,500 for a $9 part, by the way, is what it would be if I needed to buy it.
Oh man.
Or if I could find the whole bolt assembly, they're selling those for $400 if they're in stock. Or I found at my gun shop that they're selling a used model like this that's $500. And I'm thinking, maybe I just go ahead and buy this. But then what if it breaks? And I've got 2 guns that I'm out of luck on because Remington went out of business. And the other thing is I'm a Remington guy because of the fit and feel. I shoot really good with Remington. I don't like the feel of some of the other guns that are out there. Benelli's I know are good guns, but they're made for people who have women hands that are real tiny. And I have a man hand, and it just feels good wrapped around in Remington, and it's not as narrow and tiny and so anyway, sexist. I'm in trouble. I got to get this figured out. So that's my top 3.
Some machinist can't make a new pin, or
the pin. It's I don't want to get too. It's brazed into the carrier plate, so I would have to have an oven to remove the existing pin. I'd have like a high temperature oven to melt the alloy that's holding the sheared pin in. And then I would need the special braze and a machined pin to put in there. And the hope would be that I would have to get all of the braze alloy out of it beforehand. I don't have any of that equipment. So then it would be nice just to buy the plate. But then everything's out of stock. So I'd have to have somebody machine the pin. I'd have to have somebody with a braze oven. And it's a disaster. It's just a disaster.
Is this like an automatic shotgun?
Yeah, semi-automatic. Well, I'm just telling you. I'm getting old. And I kind of like the semi-auto part of this. I got my 870, but that's what my son shoots.
Yeah, I like the semi-auto. Been shooting those for years.
Anyway, there we go. Broughton, what you got a top 3 for us?
Man, in thinking about this, I mean, I'm just not a slave to corporate America like you. So I don't depend on companies to satisfy my soul.
I hear what you're saying. Is you
like
didn't
John
come
the
up with three.
Baptist.
You
I'm
didn't.
kind of like John the Baptist.
Okay.
I can just eat locusts or whatever. But for me, it's mostly just little local businesses that nobody ever heard of that would go out of business. I will say the only national company I can think of, other than Sears, because without Sears, then maybe your family wouldn't have spread out and I wouldn't have known you. So that's one. But you remember E-Machines?
E-Machine?
Like an AOL knockoff. They had a sticker on there that said the computer would never be obsolete.
No.
And we bought one. And you know what? Because they went out of business, we've had to buy more computers. If it would have stayed in business, that computer would have just kept upgrading and updating.
I do remember E-Machines.
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Yeah.
Their big slogan was it would never be obsolete, and I don't know how. But if they would have stayed in business, that's why they were put out of business by big tech, because they knew that their never obsolete machines would just crush the market. Anyway, other than that, my favorite Mexican joint here in town, La Habita, couldn't survive the pandemic because of, Biden-Harris policies that caused us to lose at football to Japan. And, the greatest of all restaurants, there's a place called Moon's, which Chet's been there.
Oh, man. I've got a hat. I've got a Moon's hat.
Yeah. There's this little place in this community called Antioch. It's really between Homer and Summerfield, Louisiana. Is this guy named Poncho ran it, and his name was not Moon. It was somebody else that he got it from. But it was just a liquor store that cooked steaks on.
Oh, now you got to be a little bit more specific. It was a former gas station.
Yeah, there were places where there were gas pumps back in the day.
Well, that's where we used to go when I was 14 because they would sell to us.
No way.
Not kidding. Moons.
All the way out to Moon. Did you ever get a steak?
No, we just got alcohol.
Yeah?
That's all we wanted.
You drove out between Homer and Summerfield?
When you're 14 and that's the only place you can get it, or 15 and that's the only place you can get it? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We used to say, hey, we're going to Moon's, but we had another spot down a road. Oh, what's the name of that road? Off Wallace Lake Road, where we would go.
This is in Claiborne Parish.
Yeah, well, we would go to Moon's first, and then we'd go hang out down at Wallace Lake Road. So we were driving all over the place.
Go hang out at Wallace Lake Dam?
Well, we'd go there too.
Yeah.
But it was Robinson Road. That's what it was. Off of Wallace Lake Road, there was a little spot. We used to go hang out.
Okay.
I'm actually not shocked that Moon's would sell to underage people. I've been there.
No.
So
Moon's had other.
So I'll describe it as I remember it. You walked in and it was still a convenience store. Like it looked, the shape, the counter, and then like along the wall there was just liquor all the way down the wall behind the counter, and then there were picnic tables in the main floor touching each other. So like it was like one long, like 3 rows of picnic tables that were like 30, 40 feet long. Is that?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if they're quite that long.
But you weren't like sitting it was a communal environment. It wasn't like you get your own table.
Communal environment, for sure.
And then tell us about the ordering process.
I mean, so you order your steak.
Did they give you a menu?
No, there's no menu.
Right.
And
So
there's also no salads here. So if you're like, I'd like a chef salad, you need to keep going.
Yeah.
But you could order your steak inch and a quarter, inch and a half, or 2 inches thick. And you just pick the thickness. How much it weighs, it's not your concern.
With a side of Mad Dog if you wanted it to drink.
If you wanted it, yeah. You could, and you got beans or baked potato, or both if you want to pay a little extra. And, you get your beverage of choice. And
he had a grill, like a charcoal grill.
Yeah, he had like a big giant grill in the back where you could go, and if you want to inspect your steak being cooked, you could. If you were, I don't know if everybody could, but I could.
If you were a friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there's never going to be another place like that.
There's never. It can never be duplicated. He got cancer, and just earlier this year, I think he'd passed. I went, or maybe it was late last year, but I went just a couple weeks before it shut down. I'm glad I went one more time.
Trying to remember if Moons was on my route.
You delivered up that way.
When I delivered when I worked for Budweiser.
Every time that I go eat a steak somewhere, I'm just like, psh, sucks.
This is not Moons.
This is not Moons.
Yeah, I mean, I went to freaking the place in Bossier, to John. I was like, psh. They're like, oh, it's whatever ribeye, and it's it's very thin and just sucks. I mean, why do y'all suck? I mean, it was done great once, and Rick Rowe was there every couple of years, and everybody knew. I mean, why does everybody got to suck when it's been done great?
Why? Yeah, I agree.
And it's closed now, and I can't get a good steak anywhere. I have to cook my own steak, which is fine, but sometimes I like the community could go get a good steak, potato. The sour cream and bacon bits were on the table. If you like room temperature sour cream, it's your deal. You check the dates on it's just the package, the little packets of Daisy.
Oh, yeah.
Check the dates, because sometimes you might catch one from last month. You just toss it aside. And then unlimited bacon bits. And if you need some more, get them off the shelf. They don't care. And, your beverage. If you're a beer drinker, you just get your beers out of the cooler. And when you go to pay, you just say, I had 6 beers. If you're a bourbon drinker, you just get a bottle of bourbon and you got a fountain Coke and you make it as you go and you take the bottle with you. It was great. It was
and it will never happen again. It's gone.
A legend.
It's
it
gone.
Can never happen again.
It's gone.
Right as he got old, the government tried to come in there and make him compliant with various codes.
Yeah, and probably licenses, certain licenses.
Licensing required. I mean, more of that crap that led us to lose to Japan in football and the demise of the greatest restaurant of all time.
You couldn't sell to minors anymore?
No, I mean, it's just government, big government.
Yeah.
It's time for war. Steak and war.
That's right. I'll tell you what, if we come out on top after all this, we need to look at, making our own Moon's Night. I'll get the old bandsaw out and we'll order a big old...
Cutting our steaks with saws.
Yeah.
Shotguns. There was always a shotgun in the corner.
Yes.
By the safe. Rumor has it one day the IRS came to audit him and they're like, hey, what's in the safe? He's like, nothing. Like, can you open it up? He's like, no.
Love it.
That was a legendary story.
I love that guy.
Oh, man.
All right, Troy. How about you, man?
Number 3, Toys R Us / Kmart.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think we lost Chris.
I think he muted.
Oh, yeah. Well, I muted because there was some background noise.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, I put Kmart and Toys R Us kind of in the same category. I just remember those as a kid. And I'm just sad Toys R Us isn't around because I got 5 kids.
Yeah.
And I have to take them to the Target aisle.
Yeah.
Or the Walmart aisle. It's just not the same.
It's not and that's what I would say there's a difference between Kmart and Toys R Us, because if your parents say we're going to Toys R Us, there's nothing but toys.
Right. It's like, yeah.
If they're saying we're going to Kmart, they may not let you go to the toy aisle. Right.
Yeah. So Toys R Us was huge letdown.
I don't know if I went to Toys R Us. I mean, I think I may have went once, but I mean, Toys R Us was like a fantasy.
Yes.
For me. I mean, I was like, what? I'd see the commercials. I was like, "What? That must be like in New York City." I didn't know there was one on Texas Street
where they make. That's where they make their salsa. That's New York City.
I mean, I could go to like the KB Toy Hobby Place in the mall.
Yep.
That was where I went. I didn't even know Toys R Us existed.
Yeah, because it's a standalone most of the time. They had their own stores.
Yeah. Oh, I remember KB Toys.
KB was in the mall.
Wrapped everything in that striped paper wrapping. So if you saw those under the tree, you knew.
I never had a store wrap present in my life. Mostly it was a funny paper. The cartoons on the Sunday paper, the color
Toys R Us. As an adult, I went in there and be like, man, this would have been awesome to know about in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I just, go to the KB Toy. Whenever my mom's going to the Limited or whatever, the KB Toy right down. Let me go to the KB Toy.
Yeah,
you're over here
the Paramount Mall.
58 sweater. Okay. Sorry.
All right, number 2, Radio Shack.
Yes.
Radio Shack, I really miss it, especially in, having to have dongles and cables and equipment. Dude, now I have to order everything off Amazon or off wherever. I can't just run the store real quick and pick it up.
Yeah.
Really got to plan and be organized and make sure I have everything for different shoots and stuff.
Yeah, there's no like pop in and buy something.
Right, yeah.
Even if it's higher priced.
Yeah, so really miss Radio Shack. And then Blockbuster Video. I really miss the whole nostalgia, I guess, of like going and picking out a movie. Like going and walking the aisles, looking at boxes, seeing what's new. Like now you just flip through it on your TV. It's like, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same as going and looking at the boxes. You know what else was not as good as Blockbuster? Hollywood Video.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I never.
Hollywood was terrible.
The
Blockbuster was the king.
My experience was we had, I grew up in the country, like way out.
Yeah.
And if we happened to be on a Friday night, and the stars had to align because you had to be in town with your parents already knowing that they're going to have to come back into town to drop the movie off. Because it's too far to make a trip just to return a movie.
Right.
So it's like, oh, you know what? I have to come back in 2 days. We can rent a movie tonight because I'll be able to return it. If that lined up, then there's two things. Number one, we got movies. Number two, it was in the next door, same building, in a strip mall as a Little Caesars. So we would go.
Too. All right.
We would go and order.
Little Caesars was good.
Yeah, and they didn't have this ready-made business, right? So you'd go in, we go in there and order a pizza, and it's going to be 20 minutes, whatever. And then then we're on the clock. We've got to run through Blockbuster before our pizza's done and rent our movies. and then we come back out, get the pizza, and then we had like a 35-minute drive to get home, just to be able to watch the movie because we're way out there in the middle of nowhere.
All right. This settles it. I guarantee you that a person I'm thinking of had more regular access to Blockbuster Video rental growing up.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
That person is therefore less country.
He was 10 minutes from a McDonald's. Blockbusters everywhere. He could probably go two directions to get to a Blockbuster.
Yeah. That settles it. I mean, if you have to, plan to only rent Blockbuster on the Equinox, then you're country. So,
did y'all have the dedicated high-speed rewinder at your house?
No,
no, we didn't.
The Be Kind rewind.
You could get one that was like a shape of a car.
Yes.
You want to be fancy? It's like, oh, what is that red car? It's not really a car. Boom! It rewinds your tapes.
In like 30 seconds.
Wear and tear on your VCR.
Yes.
Wow. You must be a millionaire. You go to Toys R Us and have a rewinder?
You must go to Blockbuster every day if you have to have a dedicated rewinder.
Oh, man.
Oh,
those are the days, man.
Category, Troy. Was that just your number 3? I don't remember.
That was my number 1, Blockbuster, yeah.
Oh, that was Blockbuster. I saw it on the list. I Googled what it cut, but I was like, I'm not going to say Blockbuster. But yeah, I mean, going to Blockbuster was
yeah, you got awesome. 2 things for that. It was fun, like
it
picking out a movie.
Event. Like, what'd you do? We went to Blockbuster. What did we rent? Nothing. Sometimes
just looking around. I need to see what the new releases are. And the other thing, the new releases, it was like a year later.
Oh yeah,
from the theater to the VHS.
Now you can rent it and watch it at home. It's killing the theaters.
Yeah,
sucks.
Like I got to go to the movie because I'm not going to wait a year. To see this.
I want to be in all the conversations.
That's right.
Like, yeah.
And now it's like, forget that. I'll wait a week and it'll be out on streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
like we had our Sunday school teacher when I was in middle school. He would we'd have 10 minutes to talk about new movies that everybody had seen and Saturday Night Live the night before, and then we jump into the lesson.
What middle school?
Yeah,
he's encouraging you guys to watch Saturday Night Live during middle school.
It was
everybody watched it, bro.
Yeah, everybody did.
Look,
in the city. I know you were farming.
Yeah, we were studying the Word.
We studied the Word too. We just talked about SNL for about 10 minutes, and
I would get in trouble. The way that our house was situated, I definitely did not have a TV in my room. We had one TV in the living area, and we had like a hallway that was behind that had all the bedrooms off of it. And my parents loved Johnny Carson. And so they would watch Johnny Carson every night. I would sneak out of my room and kind of ease up the hallway and sit where I could watch Johnny Carson, and they wouldn't know. I got caught, every now and then, but
watch out what else you might see.
Thank you for that.
I've been catching two of my kids battling Pokemon cards
after bedtime. It's probably easy to catch them though.
Well, what happens is the two oldest will start playing, and then like the 7-year-old will get up because he hears them, and then he'll come tell me, and so then I'll go down there, and I don't really mind, honestly, that they're doing that.
If that's the worst thing your kids are doing,
right?
Yeah,
I don't really mind. I wish one night I told them, just wait till your little brother goes to sleep. I don't care how long you stay up.
Yeah.
Just be quiet, you know. So, but when I go down there, I have to. Y'all go.
You got to lay down the law.
Go to bed.
Don't get caught.
Right,
boys.
Exactly. Learn from your pops.
Look, you may have to drive way far out of town to buy some underage alcohol, and then you got to go to some lake dam just to drink it.
That's right. And then drive home.
Went and got caught.
All right, Troy, you got a good word for us?
I do. Thankfully, the Lord changed my ways.
Yes.
Not a heathen anymore. So whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Jesus Christ. That's from Colossians 3:23-24. So whatever you do it for the Lord.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to last week's run to win, right? This is whatever you're doing, you're not just doing it for yourself. Do it like you're doing it for the Lord.
Yep.
Love it. All right, Broughton, any final thoughts?
Just, I can't believe you can't get a good steak anymore. No, I just, we never touched on, we touched on it. We didn't get back to it. I thought Vance was a terrible pick. I mean, he says stupid things, and I don't know. Anyway,
I have never. I've seen him talk a couple times, but I don't know the guy, and he's not where Pence was a establishment guy that people would be like, well, at least he picked Pence, and that kind of gave him a little bit of grace, I think, with some of the entrenched politicians. Vance is not that guy. Like this did not. It hurt him from the Democratic side, and it hurt him from the establishment Republican side as well. I don't think there's a whole lot of people out there that are big Vance fans, Republican or Democrat.
If you weren't going to get an establishment Republican, I mean, I don't know, Vance, you should have got like Tulsi and just got a broad reach to the center.
I do think, that wouldn't have been a bad pick in my opinion. I do think that it has been funny how many times he's been accused of being a racist, and that he doesn't like dark-skinned people. He's married to a full-blooded Indian, like woman from India.
Oh, wow.
And he has biracial kids with her. So
people
immediately came out saying, how dare he pick a racist? That, you're like, do a little bit of a Google search before you go out and start slamming somebody.
So dumb.
And didn't he have a movie made about him? Hillbilly Elegy.
He wrote a book about his life, and then somebody made a movie about it.
Ron Howard. Like Ron Howard did, is what I heard. And when you hear Trump, when you hear Trump talk about him, he talks about the movie. I think the reason Trump picked him is because he had a movie made about him. Honest truth. That's what I believe
about him. So
yeah,
he'd be a good running mate. Yeah.
I mean, they liked him before I picked him. They made movies about him.
Well, heck, you should have just picked Phil Robertson then.
Yeah.
Did y'all see that RFK stuff with the dead bear?
I heard him tell the story. What else is going on?
Well, he found a dead bear in the road.
How long ago?
It was not recently, but the pictures are out there, like before the campaign. It could be a couple years ago, but it wasn't like in the 80s.
The story didn't make sense.
And he got the bear.
Hold on.
Bear cub.
Let me fill in a little bit here. He says he's driving out somewhere in upstate New York.
Right.
And comes across a dead bear that had been hit by a car.
Cub, so it's like Labrador size.
And he put it in his trunk because he wanted to eat it. This is the words I heard him say.
Okay.
For meat. He wanted it for meat.
Yeah. And he took some kind of like stupid picture of his hand in its mouth, and he's pretending it's biting him. He's like, ah. It's just being an idiot, like he is. Oh my gosh. Being an idiot.
And then
taking selfies with this dead bear.
It stayed in his trunk for that whole. He didn't like do anything with it.
No, he just left
on that upstate New York trip. And then he came back down to New York City and realized,
oh, I got a dead bear in my trunk.
Yes. And disposed of it in Central Park.
Just dumped it in the park.
And something with a bicycle.
Yeah, he also like damaged its body in some way to try to make it look like it had been hit by a bicycle, because in the news had been like all these stories about bicycle wrecks, and he wanted to just inflame that. Like, oh my gosh, bikers killed a bear. I mean, and then of course he made some super, maybe that's where I got my brain worm. Like, you're just an idiot.
Yeah, that's the dumbest story I've ever heard. As far as a politician.
Stupider. I mean, see, and they had this. And I guarantee you, they've had this for a long time, just like they had the dog eating or whatever. And they were like, all right, once we get Harris out there, we need to make sure that
we take care of
RFK. And all these the people that are really worried about dog eating and bear slaughter are going to be like, oh, well, we got to vote for Harris.
Yeah. It's just the dude trying to explain it at some point, and I don't know that I've ever done anything this dumb. But at some point, you just don't explain it. You just say, yeah, I was an idiot. I can't even explain what is going through my head. I was just really dumb.
Right.
But he's like, no. Let me tell you why I tried to make it look like it was a bike accident. Dude, you had a dead bear in your trunk for days. Like, I don't know.
Oh, man, we probably should have started with that story.
Maybe,
all right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe.
And maybe Matt will join us, maybe not. If not, Broughton, you're always welcome. We appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule.
No problem.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast with others to help us get the word out.
Also, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. This helps our podcast show up in other people's suggested shows that may or may not have listened to us before.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.